Hello, Big Mocker. My name is Joseph M. Bodeberger, and I am working on a graphic novel series titled The Breaking of Heaven. Working title. I was inspired by a conversation I had with one of my best friends, where we wanted to know who the best villains were. And we determined that the best villains were the ones who you could almost root for. The ones who, on some small level, you thought they were the hero, even if their methods were a little extreme. The two characters, Brian and Hector, were best friends in an elite police force of advanced future society. Brian is attempting to find an alien device that will allow him to save the world. Hector is attempting to stop him. Act 1 will follow Brian as he searches for information about the device and attempts to stay one step ahead of Hector. It will also show flashbacks of him and Hector working within the elite police force to try to root out corruption. In Act 2, Hector will catch up with Brian, and after an exchange of words, the two of them will fight to a draw, and Brian will escape in the nick of time. Hector will say some things that will maybe make the audience start to think that maybe Brian isn't necessarily a good guy. But that could just be Hector messing with Brian. In Act 3, Brian reaches the device, and Hector will arrive shortly after he is able to activate it. The two of them will fight, and Hector will strike a lethal blow in the last minute. And it will be revealed in a flashback that Brian's family was killed. And when they were killed, he went a little crazy. And he started seeing all of his friends as co-conspirators in some great conspiracy of evil within the society itself. And the device would have killed a huge majority of the population, and he believed that it would unite the rest of mankind together in some sort of utopian society. I want the audience to learn something about this. I want them to think about the motivations of heroes and villains and how in reality they're not all that different, even if methodology is. At first, I didn't think my project had evolved over the past couple of months. At first I thought the idea was still the same, but as I really started to think about it, I realized that I'm no longer viewing this as sort of a hero versus villain story. Even though I was painting the villain as a hero and the hero as a villain for the audience, in my mind I still thought clearly hero and villain. But now what I'm seeing in my mind is two heroes' journeys that sort of collide. Two heroes' journeys where one person maybe fails to stand up to overcome the obstacles in the hero's journey, and the other manages to triumph. But at the same time, he has to lose his best friend, and he's not able to save the only person he really wanted to save the whole time. For my production, what creative company, what gear I want to use Frank Miller, because he's one of my favorite artists of all time, one of my favorite writers of all time, and he worked on easily one of my favorite graphic novels of all time, The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller is a very close partner with Dark Horse, so of course I would want to use Dark Horse Comics as a production company, without a doubt. And lastly, I would want to use Manga Studios for the graphics, the gear for the graphics software. They are the #1 rated graphic software, without a doubt. I have seen so many different reviews and they always have Manga Studios at the top, and that's because they have such an easy user interface, and because the artwork turns out to look splendid within their software and their programming. When it comes to the market and who I think will benefit and what my marketing plan is, I think I would target, or at least the market for it will be young single men, 18 to 34. I would try to target internationally because America isn't the only country that loves comic books. Europe has a huge comic book face. So does Canada, Mexico. So does Asia. So many places in this world have large number of comic book following fans. So I would really limit myself if I just targeted America. I would also try to target non-comic book fans, or fans that aren't regularly comic book fans. I would try to get the story to spread as much as possible. I would do this by using television commercials because of how widespread they are, how far-reaching they are, and to get some of the people that already care about comic books, I would have to use Wizards of the Coast magazine, and I would also advertise within the pages of other comic books, which is a normal thing within the comic industry. I would focus my attempts at non-traditional comic book fans on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, the big three. I would create contests to try to spark interest where the winners would get special concept artwork and signed copies of the story, or unedited copies of the story, or copies of our storyboarding for the thing, for the project. And I would kind of use how many people enter the contests as a measuring tool for the interest in the story itself. I would also go out of my way and attempt to bring in audiences with social media, which is something you can do with social media that's really more difficult to do with traditional marketing. Please give my project the chance it deserves to shine, and let me show you that science fiction has a place in graphic novels as much, if not more, than superhero stories. Thank you for your time, Big Mocker. I appreciate it.